All right, have you had a back surgery, but you want to get back to rowing and you're not sure if you should or if you can, or did somebody tell you not to? So I want to talk about that a little bit today. If you had back surgery, and of course there's a lot of different type of back surgeries, fusions, laminectomies, discectomies, and a bunch more, but those are kind of the most common ones that are coming to my brain right now. But if you've had a back surgery, they went in and they fixed you. They did whatever they needed to do to try and relieve your symptoms from what they believe is the cause of your symptoms. So, if they went in and did that, your back is fixed. So, you don't have an injury anymore to your back. Now, there is a healing period, and depending on the surgery, your length of recovery is a little bit different. But rowing is just like squatting. Rowing is like doing a deadlift, rowing is like doing a squat. If you one of those people who say you hate squatting, every time you get up and down from a chair, you're squatting. Every time you, or a lot of times when you bend down to pick up a box from the floor, you're squatting. So the rowing machine is really similar to squatting and the deadlift movement. So let's say I'm going to go pick something up from the floor. I'm going to squat down, grab it, and pick it up. Now, this position right here looks an awful lot like my catch position on the rowing machine. Uh, Now, a deadlift is, let's say I drop my pencil and let's do a one-legged deadlift, and I want to go down and pick up my pencil. I'm basically doing a one-legged deadlift. That's also similar to the rowing movement. So, if you're doing those movements, then rowing is basically the same thing, except you're actually in a different position for gravity. So it's a little bit less strain on your back. However, you are sitting, and that puts your body in a little bit of a different position. And it is a little bit more repetitive. So some people say that, hey, you're doing hundreds, thousands of that same movement. Is that really good? As long as your form is pretty good and you're working on the form, and rowing is an Olympic sport. There is always room for improvement. People who are Olympic athletes are still working on their form every time they row. So you're not going to be perfect at something just from watching some videos. It takes time. I find myself going into bad habits after breaks from the rowing machine, and then I have to record myself, figure out what I'm doing wrong, and try and fix it. So really, working on form is kind of a never-ending thing. But if you focus on the form while you're rowing, there's really no reason that you shouldn't be able to row after a back surgery. I've helped numerous people get back to rowing after back surgery. Even if it's like sciatic symptoms down your leg or groin things, those are all similar. And if your back caused it and you had surgery to help take the pressure off the nerves, then it's still okay. You just need to pay attention to your body and paying attention to your form. So now I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that uh, people will often do on the rowing machine that can re-aggravate their back. So you can try and avoid those things as you get back to it. So I've got some videos on rowing form. There's also a bunch of other people that have videos on rowing form. So please check those videos out for a starting point. But I want to point out some of the things and corrective things that you can do if your back is getting aggravated or if you're really uncertain and scared to get back to rowing after a back surgery. So one of the first things is when we're in the back finish position. So when I'm at the finish, we want to think of a clock, and I always mess this up based on where my camera is, so I apologize. Straight up to the ceiling is 12 o'clock, and then I've got 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And I always mix up which one's which on my camera, so I apologize. But when you're up here right now, I'm at the 11 or 1 o'clock. Then when I come to the back finish position, I'm going to be at the other 11 or 1 o'clock. So my hip is hinging between these two spots. So if all of a sudden you're back here and you're at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which I definitely can't do not strapped in. But if you're way leaning back really, really far, I went to a gym the other day and I saw somebody way back here. So if I'm all the way almost at like 3 o'clock, One, that requires my core to work a lot more than is necessary. And I have to get myself out of this position, which is really hard. And I'm putting more strain on my back. So if you're going all the way back here, you definitely want to look at your form. You want to stop at just going between 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock, between those 2 points. So 1 to 11 or 11 to 1. That's all that movement is. Now, if you can do that and keep your core tight, you shouldn't be putting extra strain on your back. The next is if your core is weak, doing things to work on that core strength. So when you're here, you can use your core to help stabilize your back and keep you in a good solid position. If you're uncertain, you can also get a little bit less of the hip hinge and stay a little bit more upright. Go forward to upright, so almost like 11 or 1 o'clock to noonish, uh, and and that'll put a lot less strain on the back. So that's one of the ways that you can modify rowing if your back's getting aggravated from it, or if you're uncertain or scared, which is very common after post-surgery. You just went through surgery. You've probably had pain for a long time. It's normal to be scared to get back into these things. So I'm doing this hopefully to help relieve some of that fear. But you basically just want to be in that range. Now, another thing that people will often do is at the catch, they really, really round their back. Now, my back is really rounded and flexed here, which means I now have to straighten it, and people will often over straighten it to get back in that upright position. So you want to be pretty much in a nice neutral uprightish position when you're at this catch position, not reaching really far forward and being rounded. So you want to have good position when you're up here. So that's another thing that people will often do. And then during the stroke, if I push with my legs, the goal is that nothing else moves except my legs. So my legs are going from bent to straight. I haven't started to go from that 11 to 1 o'clock yet. I've stayed at this 11 position. Nothing's happened at my arms, etc. So some people will open up their hips and start leading with their shoulders. So I'm opening my hips and getting back to that 1 o'clock position a little bit early, which is putting more strain on my back because I'm preloading here. And we call it opening up early. So I'm leading with my shoulders and putting more strain on my back that way. So instead, think of it as staying at that 11 o'clock position. And then once my knees are straight, I can hinge back to the 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So those are some things that I commonly see with people who their backs get aggravated with rowing. So you can pay attention to those things. See if that helps you. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. I'm always here for you. But please don't be scared of rowing after back surgery. It really can be a beneficial exercise and a beneficial tool to get you back to activity. But the more you move with a back injury or post back surgery, the happier your body is going to be. It's finding the movements that don't aggravate it. So those are some things that I'd start with. There's also some other things you can do, but those are the basics. And let me know if you've got any questions, and have a good one. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put new things out weekly so you can get new information. You can also join the Keep Rowing Longer Facebook group where you can ask your questions and get your questions answered quickly. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to see you there. There's a link in that description below, and I hope to see you there and chat soon.